Action. Now, I'm going to go da, 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 da. That's my very low-tech fade-in. And, hi, EPiC. This, I want to just point out, you can probably tell I really haven't done this before because we had some tech snafu ongoing directly live to the EPiC. But, wow, it's really... Look, I'm here for a very simple reason. I have to say on behalf of John O. Redmond, my editor, producer, and co-creator of this film, EPiC, that we have just been so uplifted by the enthusiasm of the EPiC fan group to get together with the same passion, I think, as we have, to make sure that this film we've made is seen by as many people as possible on the biggest screen possible. I will talk probably when I answer some questions, but more about how our whole aim here, when on the road to making Elvis the movie, we discovered all of this unseen footage, albeit negative and albeit sound missing, and there's a lot of detail about that, but to really make something that wasn't a redo of That's the Way It Is, although we've got different angles on some shots from that concert and or Elvis on tour, but particularly as we found this never before heard audio of Elvis telling his story unfiltered, was to make a film that allowed Elvis to sing and tell his story, but also, most importantly, to let you feel like you're actually in the audience. You're participating in almost a dream concert that is both a group experience but also really personal. Anyway, that's kind of my opening thank you to everyone for all of your incredible energy and commitment. And I can see the pink Cadillacs are online. And by the way, I don't do this alone because, to be really honest with you, I'm technically pretty hopeless, which is a bad thing to say for a director. But I'm also here with my great team, Amai and Fletch. Amai, you want to say hello? Come say hello. Right.
Hello, EPiC. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, like I would be nothing without. Fletch, what about you? Please, I'm just a puppet. I'm the front guy. Not really, but they are. It's great. Otherwise, when it comes to technical things, I mean, as you can see, I failed to get onto the first broadcast. But here we are. What about some questions, or is there anything, guys? I mean, if I could see your faces, I would simply see this as a meeting for which I'm a guest speaker. But that's so darn true. You inspire me. Thank you for everything. That's so lovely of you. And now I'm going to read out these probably wrong, but Sadie. Yeah. Thanks, guys. I see. Thank you for your really kind thoughts about what I like to say we've done. I mean, I'm certainly the captain, but making this film, which is about to open in but a few weeks worldwide on IMAX. And by the way, while I say that, let me just point something out. I very soon will be able to release the entire list of every single country on which it's going live on IMAX. If your country doesn't have an IMAX screen, the film is also a really extraordinary experience on the biggest screen you can get. It's really about the sound, because that's where we did, I think, so much work to make it sonically one of the best possible experiences of Elvis speaking and singing that we could. Let me get some questions. Right. Okay, trusty assistants, what have we got? Okay. So Lady Moz says, how did I feel finding the footage? Well, Lady Moz, that is a great question. You know what happened was we were making Elvis the movie, and we'd heard about this rumored lost footage. Actually, one of our great maestros, Jan, right, who knows everything about Elvis, said, look, I think there are these lost reels from the Vegas show. And, and I actually, the first time I heard about it was when I was with Ernst Jorgensen. And Ernst is probably the world's most educated expert on Elvis. Like, and he just knows everything. He's made many of the release albums you've known about. And Ernst's an amazing, amazing character and a great human being. And he said to me, well, the first thing he said is, you should make Elvis more Moulin Rouge than Moulin Rouge, in the sense of, don't hold back in going beyond just telling the A to B to C. Try and capture the spirit of Elvis. But he said there are these maybe lost reels, and I was thinking, how do we create the showroom? So the problem with actually getting old footage is that MGM stored all of their footage actually in salt mines in Kansas City beneath the ground. Now they do that so that moisture doesn't get into the negative and destroy it. So no one really had the money to go in and sort of do the Raiders of the Lost Ark search for the lost footage. But suddenly, because I'm making the movie, I had the resources and the money. And so we sent someone in to see it, to look for it. Now, I didn't actually go there, but I suddenly start seeing images where they find it in the vault of just all these boxes. And in fact, we found 69 boxes. I'll repeat that. 69 boxes of negative. I want to be clear about that. Of negative. The thing was, it was just decimated, like wrongly labeled, some just rotting, some spilled out. And we printed some of it and went, oh, we can't use it for the showroom. So it sat there, we made the movie. But then at the end of the movie, we had these 69 boxes of, we didn't really know what, like it was negative. So we managed to convince Sony Vision, thank you Sony Vision, they could see, they're putting some money, not a lot actually. I don't want anyone to think that we could just wave a wand. But our journey was, and this is something John O'Redman, who is my editor of many years, and producer on this film, and really my creative partner in this, we said, look, we've got to do something with it. We can't just put it back in the salt mines, And also, some of you guys had found out that we'd found the footage. Maybe I actually said we did, blame me. But the wonderful thing about that is that it was a bit like, release the footage. But leaving that aside, we just went like, we can't, in good conscience, just put it back inside. But we also didn't want to just, we didn't think we could, good idea to reheat, that's the way it is. Because it wasn't just anamorphic 35mm negative of the Vegas concerts, of which I think there are 6. I get my numbers wrong. I have to check with my team because I'm bad with numbers. 6 performances shot on anamorphic cameras. But we found 16mm of Elvis on tour, a lot of. And we were very lucky to be given, as we went on the process, access to 8mm that's never before seen. Now, our mission was to take that, and we visually wanted to take the quality of it. I was so lucky to work with Peter Jackson, yes, of Lord of the Rings fame in New Zealand, our New Zealand cousins, and his Park Road amazing team. And they had done wonderful things with the Beatles footage. So we were able to work with them in printing the film, and also work with them in taking out the degradation and any of the sort of depletion of the quality of the film through their processes. And that was very expensive. It's very expensive every minute. I mean, it wasn't expensive for them. They were actually really supportive financially. But the whole process is expensive because the big issue was the sound. We didn't find all the musical sound. And so what we had to do was search and search and search to get the sound that existed that had been either printed in work prints or spun off. Hard to understand, but the sound doesn't change. It just meant that we had quality sound, but we had to go and find it. And then we had a team who had to look at the pictures and the sound and go, well, he's actually singing that, or he's actually saying that. The big trigger moment came when we found this one tape And it was Elvis, with no pictures, just speaking in a really unfiltered way about his life. And that's when the light bulb went on, where we went, look, what if we made not a documentary and not a reboot of the concert film, but there's been a lot of great docos made about Elvis, but it's often people talking about Elvis, telling you their story of Elvis. What if we could make almost like a dream where Elvis comes to you in a sort of private yet public concert or experience, and he sings and he tells his story to you unfiltered. And that was our aim. That's what we set out to do. So it's a kind of dream of Elvis coming and singing and telling his story. So to answer your question, by the way, it was a very simple question, which was, how did I feel when we found the footage? To be honest, when it turned up, we were storing it on the lot in Warner Brothers in LA. And when I first walked in and saw the boxes, one, it has this smell like vinegar, old negative. And so you knew it had come out of almost, I mean, I'm talking Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like, it was like something coming out of Tutankhamun's, crypt. I think I just felt a sense of like, what will we discover through this material in front of us? And we just couldn't let go of that feeling. So, long answer for a very wonderful and short question. I do go on. You should be here. If you were talking to me, you would say, we got it. Enough, Baz.
This one here?
So, Girl Mer 1. GRLEIME1. I'll be at the Gold Coast screening on 7th February. That is awesome. I'm really excited. I'm very, very proud that we're going to do the very first. I'm going on a tour very soon. But the first thing we're going to do is open here on the Gold Coast, where we have our creative facility, because actually we were able to do a lot of the rebuilding of the sound here. And the sound, look, we had found Elvis's voice, and we had found in pristine condition, this is in second generation prints that had been run off, and we found the band. We did find that some of the orchestra was damaged, that some of the microphones weren't recording them properly, and so we had to do some replacement there. And then, of course, the film isn't, as I say, it isn't a concert film per se. It isn't a documentary. We wanted it to slide one moment from Elvis giving, absolutely pure, and what you hear is what he did on stage, performances of a song, but then it to slip into him telling, almost inspired by the song, what it meant to him about his life. And then that required score, or that required an extrapolation of tune. And then we have this other element in it where when we've got him talking, we've created through what we call DNA, we've taken different Elvis songs and made new works, of which one of them's out right now, I think, And I hear a lot of you using it in some of the pieces you drop. So that's a cool thing. It appears in the film actually in a kind of interesting way. Spoiler alert, appears in the film in Elvis the movie, in that moment when Colonel Tom Parker is actually guiding Elvis through the audience. Because honestly, when he went out into that audience, it wasn't just a passion to touch Elvis. It was almost like people wanted to, if not eat him, just consume him. And so he gave so much love and respect and wanted to be that close to the fans, and you can see that viscerally. So that track is used at that moment. Now the Pink Cadillacs. Well, we love you, Pink Cadillacs. Big shout out. You guys are truly amazing. How does it feel to be the reason why there was such an uprising in young Elvis fans? Well, would that be you, Pink Cadillacs? You tell me how it feels. But honestly, I think that's one of the most gratifying feelings, is that when I made the film, another time I can tell you about my own personal journey growing up in a very tiny country town where we had a gas station and a farm, but it was only about 10 houses, 5 houses, some of which had no one in them. There were farms at great distances. But for a while, apart from the gas station, restaurant, and the many things we did, my dad ran the local cinema. So my whole journey with Elvis kind of starts there. But all these years later, when I set out to make the Elvis film, I think one of the things I really wanted to do was peel away a lot of what I would call the rust that had gathered around Elvis the myth. Now, Elvis fans out there, you know, EPiC or, you're going to know what that is. You're going to know and feel uncomfortable or somewhat frustrated that Elvis, in some regard, had become a Halloween costume, or actually what he did, who he really was, had got lost in a lot of other commentary. And I spent years, and I mean years, you know, I was in the South for a very, very long time, in Memphis, in Tupelo. I'm sure some of you know I had an office at Gracelands. Shout out to Gracelands. Shout out to Angie Marchese and all the great guys at Gracelands. Wow, so welcoming, so kind, so supportive. I can never ever forget the just kind and inspiring hand of Lisa Marie, who trusted me, and along with Riley, they were really the first members of the family that I met, who after an amount of time allowed doors to be opened that just other people weren't allowed to step through. And that's to talk about another time, but it was a big part of the world I was able to disappear into in search of, to the best I could, the most truthful and the most revealing journey of this phenomena, which was this kid from the poorest of the poor places in East Tupelo. A story told to me, actually, by a man who it took me a long time to find, actually. And I really came to understand then that, you know, what happened with Elvis, his journey, and then his impact, and just the lightning flash. When I met this gentleman, Sam Bell, who took a long time before I could find him. Sadly, he's passed, but he told me the story about Elvis living in one of the few white houses in the black community. He took me to that place. There was a fascinating moment where everyone thought it was actually different because there were two roads. It was kind of extraordinary. And I spent a real long time with him. I cherished that story he told me, and I put it in the film. The story where you see Elvis run off with those kids, and they go down, and 1 minute they're in the gospel tent, and the next minute they're in the juke joint. That's exactly how he told it to me. And it was in those moments that I understood that the way you're made as a child affects you for the rest of your life. And so many of those things, the shame of Vernon going to jail, the fact that they were so poor. And yet, out of that comes this flash of lightning that goes on to truly, truly just change the world. I mean, he was a lightning rod for youth. There was no, the teenagers didn't exist. The story itself is really almost impossible to believe. So, in doing that, Pink Cadillacs, answering your question, long answer, we thought that once you got to see Elvis's journey, that a younger generation might connect. We hope that. We had the great gift of Austin Butler, and I cannot overstate how much work and commitment and relentlessness went into Austin doing that role, particularly as a moment came, very famously, when we were doing the crowd scene of guiding Elvis through the crowds. My AD says to me, I think Tom Hanks, who's about to come into the scene rehearsals, has that flu thing. It's called COVID. We shut down, film looked like it was over, Austin wouldn't leave. We willed the film back into life. He willed the film back into life. And to answer your question, Pink Cadillacs, just reading like the actual data from Sony and all of that, we are so surprised. And I am so, and I speak for the entire creative team, gratified that Elvis has somewhat been reborn to a new generation. And it's not just young people. I noticed something else, and it's really sweet. We're always getting videos of really little kids jumping up and down in front of the movie, like this. And I just think, well, there's the Pink Cadillacs generation, and I cannot. You guys absolutely rock. You are the face of the new generation of EPiC. But the idea that little kids are going like, who is this? That's a one-of-a-kind energy out in front of me. And that means that the legacy, the music, the spirit, the soul, what Elvis truly stood for, as opposed to what maybe has been imposed upon him. That legacy will move through time and geography. So yeah, long answer, but that's how I feel. Great.
Siobhan _K22 says, hi Baz from Ireland. I can't wait to see EPiC. Thank you for all your hard work bringing Elvis back to the fore. Love heart.
Well, thanks, Siobhan. Yeah, it has been a labour of love. It is hard work. The thing that I want you all to know, because it'll probably come up, is we found a lot of material. But just getting 1 minute of it to the quality that we have. Like sometimes some of Elvis fans will go, oh, I think I've seen that before. And some of it is actually material from That's the Way It Is. But often we're using a different angle or a different night. There are absolute sections in it that have just never been seen. I think one good one is the 16 mil, beautifully done, of Elvis singing How Great Thou Art. That particular show, that particular performance, which I think is extraordinary. I love the gospel section in the film. Never, ever been seen. And there are many others. But even if it looks similar, and even if there are some shots, so I'd have to get, later on I'll get Jono on, because he knows exactly the percentage and exactly shot by shot. But the thing is, you've never seen it like this, because by being able to go back to the actual negative, strike it anew, and work with Peter Jackson, I think what we might be able to do later is put online a side-by-side comparison as to what it was and what we were able to do with Peter Jackson and the Park Road team. Shout out to them. They are just the most amazing. The love and the passion that Peter leads and inspires in his team to bring things back to life that would be lost to us. And let me state this as clearly as possible. This is just a simple fact. Occasionally, you see someone say, oh yeah, but it's AI. Oh, it's visual effects. I'm going to lean in for this. There is not one frame of this film that is AI. There is not one visual effect in this film. There are only the credits. I think the only visual effect in this film is the visual effect that Elvis has on an audience and on his fans. That's the only visual effect, is seeing him. In fact, one thing about Elvis, and if you want to talk about AI, is the thing about AI is it's actually extraordinary what AI can do. And you go, isn't that just like? But when you see Elvis, the one thing AI can't do is be completely unique. In a way, flawed. What great artists are, they tend to be sort of, it's Elvis on stage. It's like See, AI can't come up with that because it's absolutely unique to a singular person. And to me, that defines what the soul of the human being is. It's really, really, you can't copy it because it's created like a thumbprint, a one-off. Now, my guys are saying, Baz, you're babbling. Thank you for keeping me online. Remember? Focused? Right?
Yeah.
Focused,
good.
simple.
Quick fire round.
Quick fire round, yeah.
Quick fire round. Okay, I'm going to do a quick fire round.
Okay.
So, but how do I do it?
I'm going to read something out to you.
Okay. We'll do it this way. Let's do it this way. How about, right, you say the name
Yeah.
and ask the question really loudly so everyone can hear.
Yeah.
And I'll just answer it.
Perfect.
Because I'm blind.
We're going to also just read some beautiful comments coming through on the live. So Heartburn_Motel said, wearing that nightlife look is such a vibe. Fire
And
emoji,
thanks for
fire
that.
emoji.
Listen, by the way, I love the fact that you love that track. One thing, and when the album comes out, this is true. And look, I know the K-pop world really well. Some of the K-pop stars I know very well, and you would all know just how powerful that is. One of the things that EPiC Core, and I know you want to do everything you can to get Elvis in front of new audiences as well as those hardcore fans. But when the album, if you stream, what the K-pop stands do is just leave it on, turn the volume off, and even through the night, because what we're trying to do is make sure that the algorithms, we live in a world of algorithms, you can't escape it. So the more that it's just streamed over and over again, the more the algorithm lifts us up, and it just means you're going to get in front of, you're going to be heard by audiences that otherwise would not hear the song. So I love the fact that you guys are digging that track. We have got some, before now and when we open, I'm going to release a few other pieces. Gee, one of them I absolutely love. One of them I just, I'm not going to tell you what it is. But when it comes out, it'll be oh happy day.
There's lots of great ones coming. We've also got little_Egypt who has said, we are playing the hell out of it.
We'll just play the hell out of it.
Yeah, amazing. _Nyla Rose, what's something new that you'd like the EPiC Core to take away from the film?
Oh, I think, you know, I'm sure EPiC Core, you all have this personal relationship to Elvis, personal feelings about him. But I think, you kind of know he's funny and you kind of know he's goofy and self-effacing, but I think, and this is really relevant for the world we're in right now. We know it, but I just think his inherent compassion, decency, and kindness. Like, I am so happy with, and I don't want to get, I'm so happy with what is going on in this world that we've included in this film Elvis singing Walk a Mile in My Shoes. And just have a look at the lyrics of that song. You know, Elvis says himself, he often didn't feel that he was a verbal person to talk about the world around him. And a quote from the film was actually from one of the great black preachers that he went to see, a very, very influential preacher. He said, when it's too dangerous to speak, sing. And I think Elvis really gave his feelings about the world around him through song, you know. So I think you just get his immense humanity and compassion. Plus, he is really goofy and funny.
We've also got a beautiful comment from Macho Man Norway.
Macho Man Norway? Aren't all the men in Norway macho?
Yes. In Norway, it was not planned to be on IMAX. The cinema Odeon received an unprecedented demand that this movie had to be shown on, that they just had to give in. Simply incredible. Elvis defies logic. The premiere in Oslo, Norway is almost sold out 1 month before its premiere.
Hey. Now, Macho Man Norway, you're my kind of guy. And I mean that in the best possible way. EPiC Core, have a listen to that. And in case you didn't hear, my trusty assistant, right, Amai, read it out. What he said was that it wasn't going to be shown on IMAX, is that right?
Yes, it wasn't going to, and there was an unprecedented demand towards the cinema.
Unprecedented demand to the cinema. Literally went down to the cinema and said, we want to see EPiC. And so now it is that right?
Yes, that's right. And then he goes on to say, Elvis lives through the hearts and minds of everyone that has a heart, soul, and a love for your fellow man. He was and is a global treasure. Just revel in it.
Thank you for that guest appearance.
Okay, let's see some other questions. Here's one from I Love Will Omsford.
I love Will Omsford.
Will there be interviews by other actors or actresses in the EPiC film?
Talking about Elvis, and this is actually, look, I think some of the other documentaries that have been made are wonderful, but they are a lot of people telling you about Elvis. And we made a really, really clear decision because we found this never before heard audio, just audio only. Actually, what happens with this is they're filming Elvis on tour. He does a little bit of 16mm talking. He's very tired. And so he goes home that night, and then he comes in the morning and says, look, guys, I'm just not up to filming, but I'll just talk to you. We have that audio, and he's about 50 minutes, something like that. And that triggered the idea is, look, let's get out of the way. Let's not have people talk about Elvis. Let us, me and John O'Redman, my creative partners this venture, let's let Elvis tell his story. Let Elvis do the singing. Now, occasionally you'll hear a reporter ask a question. And actually, the only other voice you'll hear in it
is a
should I say? Spoiler alert. You'll have to see the film. It's right at the end. There is one voice at the end. It's right at the end. And by the way, to that person who so graciously contributed his voice and his poem, shout out and thank you.
An amazing comment we got in the EPiC Elvis Presley in Concert fan page was from Kim Davies. She said, my family and I were in tears throughout the whole movie. We saw it at Graceland on January 8th. Yes, we are big Elvis fans, but to us and our family, more importantly, we saw my late husband and our triplets' dad over a dozen times. You knocked it out of the park again. The sound and the picture quality were incomparable. We were all snowed in here in Memphis, but we're going to go and see it again on February 18th.
That is so beautiful, Kim. That is so beautiful. You know what? Sometimes people come up and say, oh, you must hear this all the time, blah, blah. And I go, no. If one person gets an experience, an emotional experience that stays with them from anything that we all, and I'm not alone here, I work with a fantastic creative team and I collaborate all over the world. But when you give your passion, your life, your energy to it, for one person to walk away and to carry that with them, that makes it worthwhile. So thank you so much for that. Thank you, guys.
Another great comment comes from Young Red Sox.
Young Red Sox? Give me that. Read that out. Huh?
Can't wait. My parents left me behind in 76 when they went to see Elvis. I was 7 but crushed.
Parents, what were you thinking?
I was 7 but crushed because I loved Elvis the most in my family. My dad surprised me with the trip to Memphis to visit Graceland for my 16th birthday. Your film was wonderful and I cannot wait to see EPiC. Thank you, Baz, for bringing Elvis to a whole new generation.
Well, thank you, Young Red Sox, for that. That's beautiful. I got into a whole lot of trouble when I was 7 because I wore pink socks, because pink socks, and the bullies at the Catholic school were about to beat me up. And I got these pink socks on to wear to church. And it's the coolest guy in the school comes and said, what are you doing, mate? And they get, oh, he's wearing like pink socks. And the cool guy says, Elvis wore pink socks. And they just went, whoop. Thank you, EP, for the pink socks. Hey, I probably should wrap up, but we can do two more quick fires or something, whatever you guys like.
Yeah. Thank you for EPiC, Baz. Here in Brazil, we love Elvis from Magale8234. Angelo505 says, Baz, thank you for changing my life with the film Elvis. I want to ask you, how were you able to use your specific style with already existing footage for EPiC?
Yeah.
Sending you love from Colombia.
Hey, Colombia. I think that's it. Like, I mean, whether it's liked or it's not, when you do what I do, which is tell stories, I've tried to tell them in the way that maybe others do, and they just don't work. And your whole journey is about going, well, admitting, if I was at a dinner table with friends, and I think upon this moment here, like, it's a dinner table with friends. Like, I think of the EPiC core as a dinner table with friends, like we're all in this together, and you try and tell the story as if you would at the dinner table. So the way my movies are, believe it or not, is how I tell a story at dinner table with friends. And with this, particularly, magnificent. I consider what Peter Jackson did with the Beatles. And he did it by being almost the opposite of what we've done, very observational, almost like not there. You just felt like he was peering in. I consider that to be one of the greatest films. I always recommend it as a way of seeing the creative process, because, songs that we think are just like, classics, you see the Beatles there, and, one's going, the long and winding, I'm making this up, but scramble it, what, we know what it is, road, right? But, so you see that actually creativity is not this straight linear line. It's actually, you search, you struggle, you collaborate. And I just think that's extraordinary in that way. But I had to tell this story in a completely different way, because I wanted to go, well, we don't really have that. We do have a lot of footage of Elvis in rehearsals, and you see how remarkable he is, because what he does is he sings a lot of the top lines. Like, to a certain extent, Elvis would orchestrate just by, turning to the suites, and you see him in this film sing top lines, and, he gives actual orchestral notes like that way. But what I'm really getting at is that our focus was different. Our focus was to make an almost dreamscape, as if Elvis comes to you in a dream and he is talking to you on a really personal level, and he is singing and telling you of his story on a really personal level. But, and here is the key thing, we made sure through the incredibly high-tech sound that we've got and the layering, that we made it the highest possible quality that Elvis has never been seen before. And I have seen the 8mm on the biggest IMAX screen in the world, which is bigger than 2 heights of this very tall building. And it truly stands up. But what I think is the big takeaway from anyone, guys, any of you guys are out there in Toronto, particularly those ones who are down there who are singing and dancing in your arms in the air, please feel free to get up and sing and dance when you go and see EPiC in IMAX. But the constant comment we hear people say is, it's as if you were actually there. And that was our aim. We want to give Elvis the world tour he dreamed of. And, EPiC, you know what that means. He says, I wanted to go to Japan so much. He wanted to play England so much. He never played a concert outside of the US. And this is the world tour that Elvis dreamed of. And EPiC, it's up to us to make sure that we give him the best world tour that he could possibly have. Maybe I should get world tour t-shirts made. Hey, more on merch later. I know a lot of you are talking about where do I get my merch. And I want to make sure that we get some created that's going to be available to you, but also at affordable prices. I understand that, sometimes. I just want to make sure we make it available for you. So I've got a lot to work on. So with that in mind, I should TCB, and I'll see you all on the world tour, and maybe I'll turn up at occasional screenings and I don't sign some tickets. And maybe if you dug this, let me know, and I'll get Jono Redman along, because I think Jono, because he's really great. He has so much to tell you about the process, the way we did it, and he's certainly the other half of this whole creative venture. So I'm going to do what I do on the set, which is a fade out. So guys, thanks a lot. I'm just couldn't help but spend this time with you, EPiC, and anyone else, because here we go. It's time to get epic. So fading out. Da-da, bum, 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 bum.